Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Big East Rewind. I am Chuck Everson, your 7-foot host from Villanova University, and my partner and my buddy. This guy is number 23 from Syracuse University, but number one in your heart, the great Sonny Sparrow. How are you, Sonny?
I'm good, Chuck. I'm flattered and quite honored. But our guest today, we have a lot of cross path similarities. Reading up and learning more about him. I mean, I can't wait to have this conversation.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And you know what? We talk about this all the time, Sonny. We try to bridge the gap between the old school Big East and current day,
Yeah.
and it's difficult to get some of the current day guys because we don't know those guys like we know the old guys. So now it'll be our first ever person from Marquette. So that's going to be different from us too. The Marquette Golden
Can I
Eagles.
just before you start using the word old, can we say
Yeah, right.
mature or
Seasoned,
former player?
seasoned.
Like season. There we go. That sounds so much better.
Yeah, seasoned is better. Yeah,
All
I
right,
agree with
good.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So without any further ado, our guest today is the lead assistant and the offensive coordinator for Marquette, and has been there a couple of years now. It's going into his fourth year. They were 2023 Big East champs, regular season and Big East tournament. They were a number 2 seed in the tournament this year and went all the way to the Sweet 16. They do a fantastic job there. And Sonny, close and near and dear to my heart, they have our number at Villanova. I mean, especially in the Fin. We don't lose games there very often, Sonny. And every time I go, Tyler Kolek goes berserk, and we wind up getting killed in our own gym. So here he is, the great assistant coach, Nevada Smith. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thanks for coming in, and we appreciate it. We appreciate it because, like I said, we don't get to talk to some of the newer team, and I call it a newer team, but it's really, you guys have been in the Big East for a long time, but some of the later teams, that come into the conference, we don't get to talk to guys much, so I appreciate you coming on. So, first of all, I got to ask you, what defines an offensive coordinator in basketball? Because Sonny and I were just talking about this off air, and I said, you usually talk about that in football references, and now with the new age in the new style of the game, how the game has changed since Sonny and I played, talk about that for a second, how that title came about.
I think it's an unofficial title.
Okay.
But it basically is a concentration of like my duties in practice during the game in the off season. Coach Smart and I work very close together on what we want to do on the offensive end, how we're going to achieve what we want to do, ways to get our guys to, keep developing and keep improving in the areas that really that we need them to press and the advantages they have in the game. And, not everybody has the same routine, has the same plan. And it's a lot. And so the game is changed the way people think about it. I don't think the actual game has changed. How people are getting stops and how people are scoring has changed a little bit, just with rules and time. And I'm sure everybody loves analytics and all that, but so it's more of just a focus. When we're in practice, we have 10 of our players on the floor, and to be able to focus on the same thing on both ends. We have a great defensive staff as well that does the same. It just makes it easier when those guys need something. They know right who to go to, or a couple options to go to of, hey, what do I need to do here? This happened. I'm confused. And then really just preparing our team to play games, getting them ready for the opponent's defense, what they might do, what the adjustment might be that they've done in the past, little things like that, just to kind of give them an edge.
So what's the dynamic in practice, Coach? I mean, Shaka's the guy. Okay, we all know that. He's a fantastic coach, one of the best in the game today, I think. I love
I get tired watching him in the game. I get exhausted.
Yeah, he does more miles on the sideline than the guys in the game. But what's the dynamic? Like you just mentioned, you have a defensive side and an offensive side, and then do you guys get to voice your opinions of what you're seeing out there, or is it all coach, or you go through him? How does that work?
Or
Like
even
dynamic,
just the practice plan setup, right?
right?
Yeah, we meet every day to talk about what we want to do at practice. Coach comes up with a plan and kind of gives us the roles for the day of what we're really looking for. We all have different ideas that we kind of hit them with before the practice of like, hey, this didn't look great, or we really need to get ready for this. Let's throw a drill in there where we're really getting up and down and really working on speed or working on footwork or working on some type of picking up coverage, whatever that might be. So it is a collaboration of our staff. It's very coach is unbelievable at hearing everybody, dissecting it and making a decision. And then in practice, it's you're just trying to help these guys get better. Our practices are if you watch us play, it's kind of frenetic. Same thing in practice. So to be able to grab a guy for a second or two, is huge for us just to be able to teach and get those guys on the same page. So it's a lot of pulling guys to the side, grabbing guys when they're off. We go up and down, we don't stop. So it's when you need to make a teaching point, you make it.
I got to ask you because I think to give people a true perspective. See, now people are they appreciate the game, see where you're at, but I don't know if they understand what you did to get where you're at, right? So you played Division III basketball, excelled. You were, or I think still are, the greatest shooter in the world. Isn't that what that you said?
Self-proclaimed.
Yeah, I
Self-proclaimed.
mean yeah, I mean I never thought I was gonna not be the best shooter on the floor. I probably still think that way today. I still say it to our guys.
I love it. So you go from there, and then you go to beloved St. Lawrence University, which my daughter went to school up there and played. So was Chris Downs in the picture at all at that point? Was he head
He
coach?
was. He was the head coach when I was a GA for him. He was young at the time. He was early
Yes, he
30s.
was.
So
Yeah. So you're in the frozen tundra of Canton,
mhm.
right? And then you've been to Ithaca College, and then you were head coach at Canton. You've been in so many various roles and really developing, and then you get the chance to hook up with Eric Spoelstra and the heat and the culture. Just talk about some of the things that you absorbed along the way and honed into like your expertise in your areas.
I think the biggest thing, and I try to, I work with our managers and some of our GAs here of um, small school coaching. You do everything.
Right.
Our GAs here, we have so many coaches on our staff. They're not, dipping their hand in recruiting. They're not doing a ton of development. Like, when you're an assistant when I was at St. Lawrence, I was a GA, but I was the only assistant. So I'm
Right. That's all
recruiting.
they had was a head
Yeah,
coach and a GA. Yeah.
exactly. So in practice, and it's you just learn how to do a lot with a short period of time. It makes you really appreciate what we have at this level, and there really is no duty that is too large or too small. That's my job. I got to wipe the floor before practice. Great. I got to wipe the backboards for sure. I got to set the video up. Yes. I got to drive players 30 minutes to whatever they have. Yes, let's go. So that really helped. It just gives you that servant mentality of, you're there for other people, and you're there to make their lives easier and help them grow and help them become what they want to become. Having the playing background helps with that. You had guys that did that for you. But each stop along the way, you pick some things up and both. You pick some things up you really like. You pick some things up that like, ah, man, I'm never going to do it that way. And I think both shape you. And I've been fortunate enough to work for and with some amazing coaches, and being a head coach at 24 at Canton was terrific. Taught me a lot. It taught me that I wanted to get out of upstate New York. I was freezing. But then, I ended up at Ithaca for 5 years, 5 of the best years of my life. I loved it there. Um, Really allowed me to grow as a coach for the first time, with ideas and visions and things like that. And then going to Keystone and PA to be the head coach and try to put those in in your own form. was really good. And then my time in the NBA with the Rockets and the Heat was more of a vacation, a basketball vacation. It's basketball all day. I laugh. I mean, I'm in the D League. I'm in Rio Grande Valley. I'm watching, college games on my computer. I'm watching a D League game on my iPad, an NBA game on the TV. It was like I had every level. You just learn so much in such a short period of time. You're playing 50 games and you just get to experiment and try things. So that was awesome. But I knew I always wanted to come back to college. That was apparent, early in the first year I was there. I was like, the relationship piece is lacking. The
I
impact you
got
can
you.
have on guys lacking. So to come back to Texas with Coach Smart has been awesome, and the journey here has been even better.
So when you were at Ithaca College, was that the first place that you were able to really put in an offense that you felt, was reflective of how the game should be played for your thinking?
It was when I was at Canton Tech for the one season. We had one really good player, and we found him in the intramurals. He wasn't even on the team when I got there, and we had to run sets. We had to be really vanilla. The nice thing, JUCO in 2004, I don't think anyone watched videos, so we could run the same sets every game, no one had any idea what they were. So we took advantage of that. But getting to Ithaca and Coach Mullins was awesome, but he was a defensive guy. I mean, he said it right away. He's like, "You're going to run whatever you want," and we kind of built it that way, trial and error. We had an unbelievable point guard, probably I think the best player in the country his years there, and just set the tone for what we were going to be.
I think it's fascinating because I went to see my daughter play, and I was with a high school coach friend of mine, and we stayed around. We're watching the boys game. He goes, "Watch their offense. Tell me what they're running. Diagram." I was like, I have no idea what they're running, but man, they're putting up shots and they're scoring and they're moving, and it was fun to watch.
How did you come to get into that high octane Mike D'Antoni kind of offensive mindset? Because
Yeah, 7
and
seconds left.
I've talked to and as you and I have talked off the air a little bit, Coach. I've talked to a couple of your players from Keystone. They loved, Danny Candemaris is the one in particular I'm talking about, and Danny loved playing for you because he had the freedom to, kind of shoot when he had the shot. I mean, it was, it's a different style. It's fast paced. It's, talk about that for a second.
Yeah, it's the one thing it is our job as coaches is to prepare our guys to play in the games. And
Yeah.
that's what this offense really is. You have less control in the games than anything that anyone else runs. So our job is to get them ready through practice and do our jobs of teaching them what we want, how we want to do it, and at what level the expectation is that they do it at. And when they do that, they get a ton of freedom to make plays, to make reads, and to really take the shots that we value and the ones that we want really. And I started when I was a player, my junior or sophomore year, we ran Princeton. And I hated it. Absolutely hated slowing
Yeah.
down and have to be in the perfect spots. But
Methodical.
It's like running the flex, right? It's,
no question. And
yeah.
looking back on it, it was probably the best thing that happened to our team. We learned how to play. We learned how to play without the ball. We learned the importance of spacing. And then we turned up the high octane our junior and senior year, and we took off and made big runs and were really good. And knew I always wanted to play that way. It was just more fun. It was a bunch of guys that knew how to play. We all played motion in high school, so we knew how to play a little bit. Princeton kind of got us calmed down and understanding what our best traits were as players. And then when I got to Ithaca, we actually ran the swing the first year.
Oh, wow.
Big swing coach. And man, it drove me nuts. And the game that changed everything, we played Cornell our first year, and our main guys were all sophomores, and we were pretty good, not great, but we knew we were going to be really good. And first half, we couldn't get a shot off. They were physical, jumping every cut, and we couldn't get anything. And we went straight 1-5 pick and roll with the floor spread in the second half, and we dissected them. We got anything we wanted. And after that, we just kind of dove into, I studied Vance Wahlberg from out in California was
the dribble drive king.
Yep, Calipari hired him. We did a lot of dribble drive principles out of spacing motion, and really ball screen motion, with the key of where you put guys on the floor. And it just took off. And we put a high value on certain shots and a lesser value on other shots, and we wanted this and this and this, and you mold it a little bit, and then you see the NBA kind of buying into some analytical stuff, and we were doing it without even thinking it was analytical. It just led to better results for us, and then it kind of all came together, and that's where we are today, kind of.
What describe, you talk about in some of the articles and some of the interviews that you've done about rim domination, that really is what it's all about. Talk about what rim domination is and how that affects the offense.
Yeah, I mean, we put a premium on dominating the rim from a standpoint of the ball just being around it. If we could take 100% of our shots at the rim, we would. That's the shot we want. That's the shot that leads to getting fouled. Free throw is the best shot you can take in basketball, so we want as many of those as we can. You don't get fouled on jumpers very often. You got to create some contact. You got to be violent. And when you get to the rim, the defense turns their back and they collapse, and then you get everything else. So the premium on getting to the rim, most of the time when I was in the D League, everyone talked about the threes because it was kind of new. Like my first year, we took 45 threes a game. The best, the Suns at that point were taking 17, and everyone was enamored with the threes. And I'm just laughing, like, we don't even talk about that. We talk about getting to the rim, and hey, if it's not open, yeah, go ahead, fire a three up. So it really is just putting pressure on that deep paint, putting pressure on the defense to collapse. If you want to play us one-on-one, like, we got to be good enough to score in there one-on-one. And if you're going to help, then we're going to keep you in rotations and hopefully make the right play.
So along the way, right, you meet Shaka Smart, and from what I understand, you text him about something that I think it was Austin. There's nothing available at the time, but he texts you back. Talk about how you developed that relationship with him when you're really not really working together.
Yeah, so my last year with the Heat, I knew I wanted to get back to college. We were trying to come up with the best way for that transition to take place, and I talked to Mark Daignault, who at the time was the head coach of the D League team in Oklahoma City, now the head coach of the Thunder, and he and Coach Smart are really good friends. They're from Florida, and the Florida connection. They talk, and Coach was looking for someone on offense that was a little different, and Mark told him to reach out to me, and so we built a relationship over COVID, really, talking through Zooms and talking on the phone a little bit, and right before that, my first year at Texas, we had talked for a while regularly, and I told him, he offered me the job. I was there 2 days later, just drove down, and it's been great ever since. I mean, he's phenomenal to work for. He really lets you have ideas, bring them to him, and just make sure you're telling him why it's going to work. And he's a really deep thinker, so he takes some time with everything we do. And then the product, he allows to be put on the floor is it comes from a lot of deep thought. It comes from a lot of ideas being molded together to come up with the best solution. It's almost like what you hear. It's, to make a great decision, you need a lot of information, and you need to be able to dissect that information. And at the end of the day, that's going to give you an idea of what you want to do, and then you roll with it.
Talk about like some of the numbers that become imperative to your preparation. I know, like, I just saw reading something about Tyler Kolek, and his 3-point was here, and his his 2-point percentage was here, and then you work on some things. And let's just talk about like a couple of players. How do you use that data, or what kind of data do you use, number one? But then number two, how do you develop that personal plan for that player?
Yeah, I think we want him to see everything. We'll use Kolek as an example. Great player.
Great guy, great kid, by the way. Oh my
and
God.
probably the hardest worker I've ever been around, which really leads into the development, right? He did
He
a
fell
lot
in
of,
love with the kid in 2 minutes of conversation. Swear to God.
he's the best.
Yeah.
And he really developed as a human being when he got here. And he had a pretty good sophomore year. He came from George Mason, was here our first year, and in his mind, he had a terrible year, but he really had a pretty good year transitioning to a high level.
Yes.
You know, he showed some flashes. But the two biggest areas were he was a poor finisher at the rim. He was right around 41%, which is not very good. And he had always been this shooter, always. It's what he was in high school. It's what he was coming up. It's what he was at Mason. And he just couldn't make anything. And he just had a bad shooting year. Um, so we got in the gym and postseason, we said, hey, we're not doing this again. We're gonna be great at the rim, and we're gonna be great from three. And he worked his ass off, and we were. and he
He
led that.
certainly was.
He went to 60% at the rim and over 40% from three. And he worked on every finish, figured out which one he liked the best, and you saw the ones that he really got good at because he did them more. And I think that's the one thing we do a ton of finishing, and the main reason is just to figure out what each player likes. You know, if you try to do 700 finishes, you're probably not going to be great at all of them. But you find the ones that each guy likes and they're comfortable with, and you roll with it. And each guy has a plan of what they want to get better at and what their advantages are, and how can we press them? How can we go from, you know, good to great, from great to excellent? And I got that from Spo when I was coaching in the D League. We had Duncan Robinson, and he basically told me, like, I don't care if he can't dribble. Like, you spending time on that is probably not helping because he's going to go from awful to bad. Like, let's go from being, you know, an excellent shooter to one of the elite best shooters in the world. Like, that's the margin we want to hit. I don't care about going from awful to bad dribbling. Like, that's not going to help us. And just pushing that exceptional skill to a different level.
Now I got to ask you a little bit deeper on this with guys finishing, and you said, you know, he had trying to figure out better ways to finish. How do you analyze that? You said there's 700 finishes. There's got to be some deep dive. I'm guessing you're filming the workouts, and compiling it. Talk a little bit about exactly the method, because that's not. It sounds simple with what you say, but there's a lot more that has to go into that.
No question. I think the biggest data point we use are game reps. So we were able to watch every finish he had his sophomore year and replay those, because he's probably going to have similar finishes his junior year. And okay, this is what we did. This didn't work. How can we be better in this exact play? Like, getting downhill off a pick and roll, you went wide and missed it. Can we get into the guy? Can we use our shoulder, get a little closer to the rim, create a little more leverage, a little more space, and finish it? So we went through every miss and every make and just kind of said, okay, did we like it? Did we not like it? What can we do different? And then how can we be different? Can we slow down? Can we, you know, because he's not athletic. I mean, he's strong and he's really smart, but he had 0 dunks in his career. So how can we do a better job of creating a little more space around arms and being able to finish on different spots on the backboard? And I think the culmination of all that, my favorite one he ever probably finished was in the NCAA tournament against Colorado. He came to a complete stop for 2 seconds before he shot it. Like, complete stop, just stopped on his right foot. Everyone jumped by and he just laid it up. And we worked on that when he was his first couple weeks on campus, and he had never done that before, and he just got better and better. And it really allows the younger players to see the results, especially the ones that were kind of here for the first year, of like, man, like, if you work like he works, you're going to get better. And that's our whole program.
He's going to be a great Nick. He's going to thrive in New York.
I'll tell you what, we were really excited. With my affiliation with the guys that are there, the Nova Nick guys. I thought he was going to be the perfect guy to back up Jalen. That was his basketball IQ, first of all, is off the charts. He makes everybody around him better. I mean, I just thought and he's a great kid. I mean, we got to speak to him, Nevada, for, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes at the Big East Media Day last year. And we walked away going, wow, that's a really good kid. How could you not root for that kid? And right. he even broke a little chops with us back and forth. And I told him, hey, take it easy the next time you go to the Fin. He goes, I can't do that, Chuck. I can't promise you anything. And he went out and dropped, I don't know, 30 something. It was,
yeah. I don't think he's the most popular person at Villanova. He definitely wasn't in that game.
No.
I remember vividly, I mean, because that was one of his better games he played last year.
Oh, yeah.
And, Cam Jones was out and he had to take more of a scoring load, and he's just banging shots and talking to the front row. And I mean, there was a
Oh,
guy at one point I looked over and I just see him turn to his buddy and goes, I hate that kid. And it was like, that's why he's great.
right.
That's why he's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And frankly, I wanted to tell everybody to shut up because they were just ticking him off by some of the stuff they were saying. And I'm like, you're really not helping the
He
cause
doesn't
here.
need any more motivation.
No, he
No.
didn't need any more motivation. But I'm looking forward to seeing him play with Jalen and Josh and those guys. And I think it's a great fit.
Yeah,
So
it'll be
Can
fun.
I ask you one question too before we get going more into Marquette? When you work with Spo, the article that I was reading talked about culture, and all of a sudden culture
that's
became
exactly what I was going to say.
you
Yeah.
know more of a concept or more of a stress point or a touch point. Talk about either what you learned or how culture now is absolutely thread into your Marquette program too.
Yeah, I mean, so before I got with the Heat, I was at the Rockets, and I love those guys. I love Daryl. He was great for me, changed my life. There wasn't a
Daryl Morey.
culture. It was, yes, it was get the best players and figure it out. And okay, and we were taking some guys that had some issues, guys that weren't the best fits culturally, and you knew it, but that was the job, figure it out. So you get to Miami and it's completely opposite. It's that first, everything else second. And that's the first time I had been in a situation like that. And the culture there is different than the culture here. The culture there is a work hard, hardest working, toughest, nastiest team. All the Pat Riley, all the Pat Riley stuff, and it really was everything they did from the weight room to the court to practice to workouts. It was toughness and nastiness and best conditioned. And in the NBA it's a little different culturally. You're not, here our guys are with each other all day, and in the NBA they're with each other for 3 hours, then they're with their families. It's a little different, right? So the culture there is like on the floor, on the bus, on the plane, right? So here it's everywhere. Here it's 24 hours a day, how we act, interact, and respond, our relationship between our team, our coaching staff, our immediate staff. We fight for it every day, and Coach Smart is really taking it to a different level in my eyes from what I've been around. Just what we do to build it, and what we talk about what could disrupt it, and it really is about who you have, who you bring in, how they adapt to the guys. And our guys right now, they love it, they own it, and they're not going to let anyone come in that isn't completely bought into it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why.
That's huge. That's huge.
That's when you have a good team. I mean,
Yeah.
that's you talk about culture, and the Villanova culture has been like that for years and years. And Jay took the stuff that Coach Massimino did with us, and he just polished it up and made it his own. And look what happened over the last 10, 12 years, right? It's just been It's unbelievable when you can get that. So talking about the culture and that stuff, you're a big relationship guy. I know that that's your thing. And and so am I, as a matter of fact. That's how I operate too. When we talk about the Villanova guys, I'm the guy that keeps all of those guys together with the relationships that we've built over the years,
Yeah.
Talk about the importance of that when you're coaching kids, and now the cultural part of it, is tougher and tougher because you don't know who's going to be on the team next year with everything going on with the portal and all the craziness that is now college sports. How do you keep your relationships and the culture together when at any minute you could lose a kid to another team, and even in cross conference, like you saw this year with Kadari from Seton Hall going over to the Johnnies? How do you do that?
Well, I think the relationships keep the culture together. I think that's what
Well, that's cool.
we haven't lost a player to the portal really willingly since we've been here. We had 2 guys leave a couple years ago, but they wanted to play, and we basically said, "Hey, you can stay, but you're not going to play."
Right.
So they wanted to play. They didn't want to leave. And this year we had no one that left other than Tyler and Oso could have come back, but they wanted to go to the NBA, and they should have and made the right decision. And we haven't used the portal. We haven't brought in a Division I transfer.
Wow.
since we got here, and really we didn't have a roster. We had to do something. So it's a little different, and it is the relationships we have and how they're built, and the trust that these guys have in their own development, and putting it in our staff's hands. They see what they can become. They see the growth. They understand they're getting better every day, and they want to see where that goes, and they want to win. And we've done a lot of winning, and hopefully it's a lot more winning. And it all goes hand in hand. The relationships and the culture, they go hand in hand. And we spend a lot of time with our guys and a lot of time building those relationships where they ultimately trust you. And that was one of the biggest things transitioning to the NBA was I'm walking in this gym for the first time with NBA players, and they don't know me, I don't know them. They're the best players I've ever been around. And until they saw it's a little different there, until they were able to see they were getting better, they would start to trust you. And once they trusted you, they'd do anything. But that first honeymoon phase of can this guy make me a better player? Because ultimately in a D League, that's all they care about. Can you make me a better player? And once they felt like that answer was yes, you could have them do anything. So it's similar but different here. It's more like building that relationship of love and tough love and accountability. But they also understand it goes into winning. It goes into their growth. It goes into development as a person and a player.
Talk about the relationship with you and Shaka. Is it kind of like a yin and yang? He's an explosive, fiery guy, at least on the sidelines, and I'm sure at practice. I've never been to a practice, but I can imagine what he's like at practice if it's anything like the guys that Sonny and I played for. And then you're a calm. Your demeanor is totally different. I've seen you on the sideline. You don't get excited. It seems like for anything. I mean, you're even Steven no matter what's going on. So is that like a calming influence for him? Is that like that yin and yang thing?
I hope so. I think that was one of the big transitions going back to being an assistant, right? I was probably not as even keeled as I am now when I was standing up, and a little more emotional, a little more, Greek and Italian come out at that point.
Yeah.
Coming back to being an assistant, I was like, I need to make sure that, whoever looks at me thinks that, I believe what we're doing and we're in great shape no matter what's going on, no matter what the score is, no matter how many bad plays, great plays we've had. We're just going to keep rolling. And I think you need to think about the next play. I think you need to think about like what's going on. I have some decent celebrations, but they're usually late when it gets tight and we need to make some plays. And you want to feel good about these guys making plays that they've worked on so much, and it's going to make them feel good if we can get a win and they feel like they contributed to winning on the floor. I think our guys always think they contributed to winning no matter what, but when they can make a play and look back and be like, man, I worked on that for 20 hours this summer, and there we go in the game. I got to do it for 10 seconds. But yeah, we have a great relationship on and off the floor. He's just fiery. He's just energy. Like he has energy everywhere. His energy when he walks in the morning, when he leaves at night, when we're on the practice floor, we're on the plane. He's just consistent with his energy. So it's an admirable trait. I don't have that like he has it. I always say you got to be who you are. I'm naturally kind of more laid back and relaxed, and I don't get too excited over many things in life other than basketball and my family and an occasional horse race. That's about all I get excited for.
So
I see the picture in the background.
I see you're a Saratoga, got Saratoga, and I know that because
I was trying to sum
I was
it all
there
up,
this year
like,
for the
there
first
it is.
time. What an experience that was. That's awesome, that place. That place is beautiful.
So when I worked in the NBA, my wife and I lived in Saratoga for 6 years. So we were up there for 6 summers, and it was awesome and love it. And we got to go back this year. Missed the races. Got to go back in early July to see some friends and hang out. And it's a place that's like near and dear to us. We got married there.
Cool.
So it's a place that means a lot to our family.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's for sure.
It's a nice area.
Let's talk about the current team a little bit and what's going on. You said that you didn't get anybody from the portal, and you got everybody came back. Talk about some of the new guys that you have that you recruited the traditional way from high school? Anybody that's going to make an impact for you
Yeah,
guys?
we got three high school kids. Two guys played at the same school, Damaris Owens and Royce Parham, both played at Western Reserve in Ohio, won a championship. They're good players. They got size. They're good on offense. They're good on defense. They play really hard. They fit how we do things here. They committed early, so we've had a lot of time to be able to introduce them to how we do things, and they've really hit the ground running when they got here. So they'll be fun to watch. Damaris is one of the best athletes in the league. He can do things on both ends of the floor. He's got great size for a guard. He's 6'5", 6'6". And Royce is similar to David Joplin, who we have. 6'8", can really score. Can play with the ball in his hands. Can play without the ball.
Right.
Good rebounder. Just two guys that are going to come in and make an impact on our rotation. So it's been fun to watch those guys in the preseason, in the summer, get ready for their first Big East season.
What do you look for? I mean, it seems that you got to have a pretty high basketball IQ to play in that offense. Do you look for that over? Obviously you're looking for talented kids. That goes without saying. You want talented kids, but I'm assuming you have to have a high basketball IQ to play in that offense. A and B. Do you guys look at the portal at all, or you just stick with the traditional way of recruiting? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, we look for cultural defense and offensive fits. We want guys that fit how we are and how we do things. Again, you bring the wrong person into our culture, it's not going to work. So that's the biggest thing we look for. From a basketball standpoint, there are different things we look for with different guys, different positions. How they're going to fit in? Do they complement who we have? And what the projection is on where they're going. Are they going like this, or are they kind of plateaued? We want guys that are peaking and guys that are continuing to get better. I think you always look at the portal. We haven't had a need. We've had our guys stay. They want to be coached. They want to be developed. They want to see what they can do. You take a guy like Zay Lowry, who played 5 minutes a game last year. With us for a full year, with us for a summer, with us for a preseason. To us, that's more valuable than getting a guy that played in mid-major basketball and averaged 15 a game. Like, we just think we have a better chance of succeeding with Zay, and that's what we believe in. And I think you always look. We just haven't had the need. We have nobody leave. We've had our roster kind of set. So I think that'll be the pattern.
Which is not the norm. It's not the norm to have your roster intact. Binghamton University, as I know, a smaller Division I school, all their players stay, which again, a little bit unheard of. So it's a testament to me to, like you said, the fabric of your program, which is your culture, and you've mentioned it multiple times in terms of your fits, right? So talk a little bit now in the Big East, right? So there's no more of that, oh, Marquette's going to surprise some people. Oh, no. Marquette's expectations now are higher, right? And looking forward to the 2024-2025 season, what are some of the things that you guys are looking for?
Well, I think our internal expectations have always been really high. They've always been, we're pretty good. I think the last three years, I think, the outside is like, okay, they're doing something there. For us, this is these guys that are seniors now were freshmen when we got here. So they've come through the program. They've been here since the beginning. They changed the culture here. So to really do a great job for those guys, Cam Jones, Stevie Mitchell, David Joplin. So to make sure they have a special year. I think our younger guys really are bought into doing everything they can, giving everything they have for those guys. We have a lot of guys back. I saw something. We have the most scoring back in the league from returning players. The continuity obviously is going to help us. We're elite on defense. We are really good defensively. I love T, and he was a good defender, but we're just probably a little more athletic than we were. We fly around. We got guys who really buy into getting stops, and that's what they want to do. That's who they are. And it'll translate to the other end. We get to play in transition, we get to playoff misses, and that's when we're really good in the open floor. So it's gonna be a fun year. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be the first time since we've been here that we're not just giving the ball to Tyler and let him go. So it'll look a little different. I think having a guy like Cam, having a guy like Stevie, senior guards, usually do a pretty good job, and a lot's
Yeah.
going to be relying on them. So it'll be fun.
Historically, that's the deal. When you have senior leadership, senior guards, you usually do pretty well. Who are you looking at this year? Now, obviously, it's hard. It's hard. It's a difficult question to even ask you now because you don't know what anybody has until you see them. I think Villanova might have 10 new kids this year. I mean, same thing. St. John's has got a whole bunch of new guys. What do you see in the Big East as far as competition this year? Obviously, UConn is going to be good. The big guy is back. I think Creighton is going to be good again. What are you thinking for this season coming up?
I think the best part and one of the most fun things about the Big East is the coaching is tremendous.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's just gotten better.
Yep.
So you get to go against guys who are thought of as top 10 coaches, top 20 coaches in the country. It's fun to be in a league with UConn. Just is. They won 2 straight, and they're really good, and they're going to be really good again. And you get a chance to battle with them a couple times a year. That's fun. I think I think Creighton's got Cockbrenner back, and I think it's going to be a really fun league this year. It's going to be an entertaining league. The transfers that have come in are good players. They can score points. We'll see if it's the traditional head banging Big East, or if it's a little more open, but it's going to be fun. I think St. John, Xavier, all those teams, Villanova are going to be good. There's no easy game on the road in the Big East. It's a war. So we'll take it day by day, and hopefully we continue to improve and get 1% better and see where we are, when the games are done.
What's a team that you think might surprise people in the conference this year?
I think
Either positively or negatively. I mean,
I think Georgetown's talented. It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of mesh together. They got some guys back. They brought some really good players in. Interesting to see. I think DePaul, interesting to see how those guys mesh together.
Yeah.
It's always, the first couple of weeks of the season, you're really, I mean, at least I really kind of just look to see who's playing for these teams and who's playing the minutes. And you don't worry about it too much because it's a long way down the road of when we play them. But I hope in the preseason the Big East wins every game. I hope we're all undefeated coming into league play. And you root for those guys to really do a great job. And then when we start banging heads, we know it's going to get a little wild and crazy, and it'll be a fun time.
That's the unique thing about the conference, Coach. I mean, we've talked to guys from all over the place. Obviously, we played a long time ago, but you always root, even if you can't stand a team like a Georgetown. Sonny's Syracuse Orangemen and Georgetown's a huge rivalry, but they rooted for Georgetown when they were playing North Carolina or somebody else because it was our guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like that in the ACC and places. Duke does not root for North Carolina under any circumstances against any team. So it's unique in that way. And it actually, we're finding out from doing this that there's a brotherhood with those guys, with the guys that have played and been through the wars with you and stuff like that. So it's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, I remember our first year. We're playing Illinois at home, and Providence had just won a game, and Cooley's getting interviewed, and he asked if we won, and they told him we did, and he had a great reaction, like, I just love the Big East. Good job, Shaka. And it really was genuine, and
sincere. Yeah,
we want each other to win outside the league, and then when we get in the league, let's roll.
But yeah.
All right. Since you said your Italian Greek roots, I got to start talking a little bit of food here now, man. Okay. I'm coming to Marquette. Where are you taking me to eat?
I'll say this, and I'm probably going to get crushed for it. I'm coming from Saratoga, New York. The Italian food in Milwaukee is not the highest graded food in my in my mind. There's a couple places, but I wouldn't take you to an Italian place. Milwaukee, great steaks, great meat. There's a couple places, Moe's Steakhouse, Carnivore, really high end. We have a great seafood place, the Harbor House, on the water. So probably one of those three. Those are probably, if my wife and I get away, we'd probably go to one of those three places. We go to Harbor House before and after the season every year, just the two of us. So
Beautiful.
I would say that that's probably just from a scenic, you're on the water, the views are really nice. So probably I'd probably take you there.
All right, so you're playing the Big East tournament. Where are you going to eat down there?
So we don't get out in the Big East tournament much.
Oh no, no.
Um,
You don't get to at least enjoy and savor the moment when you win the Big East tournament.
well,
It's a
we
big
win the Big
moment.
East tournament, we're getting on a plane and we're going home.
Oh, you go.
So um, there's so many great places in New York. You know, my wife is from Danbury, Connecticut, so we've taken the train down and spent days in New York City, and I don't think there's a bad place, honestly. So I love New York City food.
All good.
Well, good. Yep. The Big East tournament. Listen, let's end with the Big East tournament since we mentioned it. All right. I know you got to get to practice and stuff. So, if the Big East tournament, it is still an electric day when you get into
Oh,
that final game. When you guys played UConn
incredible.
this year, and even the year before when you won the thing in 2023. Talk about what that's like. People don't understand, even to this day, how much fun that is and what the buzz is like in the city.
I was there. Okay. That
So
was incredible.
when I was at Ithaca, I would take a couple days and go to the Big East tournament and sit in the. I had no money. I sat in the highest possible row and spent the day. Like the first day where there's four games is the best, right? Like um, so not the like once it gets down to eight teams. So I went with a couple buddies every year, and it's an electric atmosphere. And then being on the floor and being able to look up at the crowd and um, it's been unbelievable. It's the Mecca. It's where you want to play. It's where you want every big game to be. And I think we've had success there. I think our guys love that atmosphere. They love the toughness of New York City, and they love, walking in that building. Um, so as long as we're keep playing at the Garden, it's going to be a fun tournament. It's a fun couple days. It really is. It's the best basketball. Um, you could see last year in that championship game, and even the year before, it's a war to get there. And
Oh,
that
yeah.
that championship game is never pretty. Um, it is never pretty. It is an absolute dogfight. Um, so
World's greatest arena.
it is. It is. The game against UConn 2 years ago in the semis was one of the you know best games I've ever been a part of. And the next night against Xavier, we played great, and I think they kind of ran out of gas a little bit, and this year to play in some close games and then get a chance to play UConn in the finals, and I think both teams offensively just maybe the defense was just tremendous, but we both teams offensively did not look great early, and it was a good game down the stretch, and that's the one you kind of wish you had your horses running. You wish Kolek was out there healthy, but it was a
Yeah.
good decision to leave him for another week to get healthy. And he that next week in the NCAA tournament, he was terrific. So the Mecca, the Garden is unbelievable. It's the
It's
best
the
tournament.
physicality of a week's worth of games, and you have to have the endurance, hope nobody gets hurt, and the physical play. Because now, back when we played, it was extremely physical. You didn't come down the middle, and basketball in general was physical. You didn't come down the middle without paying some kind of price for coming down, down through the paint. But now it's getting more and more physical, and the more guys we talk to from current day that have been around say hey,
Yes.
it's very physical.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
they're letting it go
also
more.
takes us. You have to. It's like a gauntlet when you're playing those 3 or 4 games, and now you're in the finals. That's incredible.
Well, the Big East last year was last in the country at 38 out of 38 in amount of fouls called in league. Like we play, and it's
Oh
physical.
yeah.
And it really is. We were fortunate enough last year to play in Maui, and we got to play 3 games in 3 days, and that's what it is. Like it's the only other time you play 3 games in 3 days. No other time on your schedule, no other tournament where you're playing 3 games in 3 days. So it really is different than anything else that you do. And you got to have a little bit left to get over the top.
Last
Yeah,
question, Coach.
I
We'll
think
let
the
you go.
officials are not going to decide the games. They're going to let the players
Right.
play the
They
game.
let them play.
They 100%.
How much does that help you when you get into the NCAA tournament? Because back when we played, I was on the 85 team, and teams that were not in our conference did not know what to do against the physicality of the guys that played in that. Whether it was us, Georgetown, St. John's, if we played somebody outside the conference, they had no idea what to expect. Is it still the same?
Yeah, I think so. At least we tell our team that. It's a different league. It's a physical league. We play different than other leagues. You can see it when you watch games. We get into tournament. We think we have a little advantage. And understanding, officiating changes in the NCAA tournament. We might not see a guy that we've seen throughout the season. So it is a little different. Usually what's nice in the Big East is they know you, they know who your guys are, they know their tendencies, and they kind of officiate the game that way. And then they'll say, like, we want the best players on the floor at the end. The NCAA tournament's a little different. That's not their goal. They want to call it right and make sure they grade out so they get to the Final Four. So you worry about it a little bit from a physicality standpoint, but our guys are really good about feeling the game and understanding how the game's played and called. And you can see them adjusting really quick.
Well, Coach, I want to just say thanks a lot for taking time to join us today. We really appreciate it. Enjoyed speaking with you. And good luck this year in the Big East. And we'll stop in when you play the Cats and, and some of the other teams. We get to a bunch of Big East games. So if we get to any Marquette games when you're on, we probably won't get out to Milwaukee, but anything on the road, we might just come by and say hi and see how you're doing. All right.
Great. Please do send me a message and we'll get together and say hello before the game. It'd be great to see you guys.
We'll do.
Coach,
All the
you got
best.
a new
Thanks
fan
again,
here.
Coach.
Let me tell you, man, I really respect what you've done. So
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys for having me on, and anything you guys need, let me know.
Right. Thanks, Coach. We appreciate you.
All right. See
best
you later.
of luck, Marquette.
All right. So before we hang up, guys, we want to just say thank you. It's a shout out to Jim and Danny Candamaris. Danny played for Nevada at Keystone. And I just want to say thank you to those guys for setting this up. This was great that we got to speak with Nevada Smith today, Marquette assistant coach. And so now you got an insight as for the new school versus the old school. And that's what we're trying to bridge the gap.
Nevada didn't say it on this show, but he alluded to it. Danny he felt the best point guard in the Division III basketball rankings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. He was good. He was a good player. So the Big East Rewind was produced and directed by, as always, by Daryl Gurney and Nick Chico Chorus. Join us on all things social media by putting Big East Rewind in the search bar. And we want you to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Now, that said, we're very close to 1,000 subscriptions on our YouTube channel. So get out there and subscribe, please, on our YouTube channel. It will help us out dearly to keep this thing going. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate y'all.